Hi, I'm Gabe with Ultimate Water, and today we are going through the step-by-step instructions for how to replace the chlorine Genie cell. Although it may seem intimidating, removing and replacing the chlorine-generating cell is easy. You will want to make sure you have your organic vapors respirator, your protective eyewear, and your nitrile gloves ready to use. First off, as a safety measure, we will unplug the chlorine Genie. Then, we are going to need to remove the power supply cabinet. In order to do this, disconnect the 12-volt terminals on the back of the power supply cabinet. Disconnect the wires for the two ball valves from the 12-volt terminals on the side of the power supply cabinet. Disconnect the water lines from the copper cooling tubes on the power supply cabinet by loosening the nuts on the poly elbows and pulling out the black water tubing. Be sure not to lose the brass fittings inside the water tubing. When these pieces are disconnected, the power supply cabinet will lift free off the unit. Before removing the power supply cabinet, put on an organic vapors respirator, as chlorine gas can be released with the removal of the power supply cabinet. Remove the power supply cabinet from the brine tank and place it in a secure location. Now the brine tank will be fully exposed. Before you dive into the brine tank, put on your protective eyewear and nitrile gloves. The black and red wires are connected to the cell. Pull these wires through the brine tank wall so that when the time comes, the cell will come out freely. Do not drop the wires in the brine tank water, as this will corrode the terminals. Disconnect the compression nut from the acid tube and remove. Keep it in a safe spot so it does not fall into the brine tank. Disconnect the compression nut from the anode tube to the bottom left of the 6-inch cell housing and pull the tubing free from the fitting. Be careful not to get liquid from the anode tube on your skin or in your eyes. Place the nut somewhere safe so it does not fall into the 6-inch cell housing. Pull the cathode tube out of the 4-inch precipitation tank to free the cell. Again, take care not to get liquid from the cathode tube on your skin, clothes, or in your eyes. The cell is now free of all its connections. Pull the cell directly up out of the 6-inch cell housing and out of the brine tank. It might need to be slightly rotated or wiggled to get it out of the 6-inch cell housing. Take care with the cathode and anode lines as they can burp acid or brine solution. The cell will be covered in alkaline water and can bleach grass and concrete. Rinse the cell thoroughly with fresh water and dispose of it in the trash. Now we are ready to insert the new cell. Remove any packaging material. Gently insert the new cell into the 6-inch cell housing, being sure to drape the black and red wires over the side of the brine tank so they do not get wet. Insert the cathode tube into the 4-inch precipitation tank. The cathode tube comes out of the black wire side of the cell. Connect the anode tube into the connection at the bottom left corner of the 6-inch cell housing with the compression fitting. The anode tube comes out of the red wire side of the cell. Be sure to create an arc in the tubing and make sure you don't kink it. Then give the nut a quarter turn with a 5/8-inch wrench to secure it. Connect the acid tubing with the new compression fitting. Give the nut a 1/4-inch turn with a 5/8-inch wrench to secure it tightly. Note that you will have one compression nut left over as the new cell comes with a nut for the acid tube. Next, thread the black and red wires under the tubing and feed them through the holes in the back of the brine tank wall. Black on the inside hole and red on the outside hole. Replace the power supply cabinet back on top of the brine tank. Securely fasten the red and black wires to the 12-volt cell terminals on the back of the power supply cabinet. Connect the black water tubing coming from the anti-scale filter to the top poly elbow and use a 5/8-inch wrench to tighten the nut a 1/4 turn beyond finger tight. Connect the black water tubing coming from the actuated ball valve to the bottom poly elbow. Ensure the brass fitting is still inside the tubing and use a 5/8-inch wrench to tighten the nut a 1/4 turn beyond finger tight. Locate the wires from both the top and bottom actuated ball valves. Connect the wires to the 12-volt terminals on the side of the power supply cabinet. Red to red and black to black. And finally, plug the chlorine Genie back into the outlet. The chlorine Genie is now ready to be turned back on. Let the unit run for 30 minutes before testing the chlorine output. And that is how you replace the chlorine generating cell of the Chlorine Genie. Thanks for watching.